Well, it's September, the birds are singing, the leaves are changing, and it's a new month. And do you know what happens every month? Yes, it's time for another SML video. And not just any video. It's time for another SML character analysis video. Last month we spoke about Junior and how he transformed from a formerly bratty character with almost no likable aspects, who slowly turned into a somewhat decent character when he isn't insufferable or annoying to the audience. But now recently he is deemed as a split division of a semi-decent character to an actual bad character. It's not so much that I outright hate Junior, but it's the way that his character has descended far from an actual child character who was admittedly too realistic of a bratty kid to a cynical and selfish character that the show tries to get you to sympathize with. Well, at least in his worst appearances anyway. But now it is time for a big video. Even more big than the Rose video, which if I could remove the mask for a second y'all, and let me just say that I have never imagined in my life a video of me ranting about a plush-filled character would have been my most popular video. That is insane and mind-blowing to me. It was a fun project that I wanted to do forever because I cannot express over the years I really hated Rose. And while the video is a bit more outdated compared to my newer ones, the support of the video was still crazy. And to that, I thank each and every person, even the people who slightly disagree with me and say that Rose is a decent character. It's nice to see a community in harmony with varying opinions. You don't always have to like my opinions, and I will be surprised if you do agree with me on everything. But I always try to keep my videos well informed and try to get everything I want to say out there. So again, thank you all, and let's continue on with the video, and let me put the mask back on because I'm about to roast this puppet. When it comes to the other characters and a general consensus, Rose is the worst character, Junior is a mixed bad character but overwhelmingly kinda bad, Mario is in the center of the love and hate, even more center than the center of the earth, Brooklyn Guy and Goodman are equally decent to kinda good despite some flaws they have, and Cody, come on man, I made an entire video about the GOAT of SML characters. But Joseph, personally, he is above Rosalina on my list as the worst characters. Remember when I said Goodman's change was the most confusing change in the show's history? Please forget I said any of that. Joseph is the most baffling change in the show's history. How do we go from Junior's best friend who occasionally didn't always agree with everything he said to a kid who lost his entire family? You bring up Joseph's grandparents, I will hate you. A kid who lost his family with no home to go to. We'll get to that, people, calm your horses. To now suddenly a kid who was broke again. And on that note, how did his friends not question where he lived years ago? This kid is perfectly healthy for a poor person, he has a cell phone with probably 300 gigabytes of memory, he always says he's out of here and going home. Did the stars not fucking align with anyone? Anyway, I have plenty to say about Joseph, and this intro is going on too long. So let's talk about the history of Joseph and how his character has derailed. Joseph, or Joseph his friend from school as he called himself, didn't really have that much of a character, at least in his debut videos. But interestingly, just like Cody's first appearance being in Summer School Part 1, Joseph also debuted in this video. And yes, I am aware that if you want to be technical, his first appearance was in Bowser Jr.'s cell phone, but that was a cameo and he wasn't even a character until the Summer School series, plus he got a lot more screen time than just a few seconds, okay? Are you clear? But yeah, Joseph was introduced as Junior's best friend in that video. And while the Summer School series didn't have that much to work with yet, as he was only just introduced as a cool kid. Remember for a while in the old house, Joseph had like a weird connection with Black Yoshi with both of them being enemies at Call of Duty? I did kinda wish that kinda carried over to the modern era. I really would like to see the rivalry and how that would've went from here. But it was the next few episodes where we got to learn about him. He has a mom, Junior is his best friend, and his only friend. And he really hates Cody, and he makes it known to everyone. Now to be fair, this is the one time I agree with Joseph and his justified hatred for Cody, as Cody is a weird mother effer. Seriously, this kid tries to get anything that can walk on two legs in bed with him. But pretty soon the evolution of the three best friends became more iconic than the Three Stooges. These three did everything together, and it led to some pretty classic series throughout the channels, like the Playtime series and even the Game Night series, though I'm more mixed about that series due to all of them being the same with just bullying Cody. The Old House era began to slowly over time develop Joseph to a character who sometimes was the exact middleman of the group. While Junior is the leader and he led the group, and Cody is the smart character, Joseph was the middleman who took sides, and surprisingly enough, Joseph would actually call out Junior for being so dumb sometimes, which is definitely the highlight of the old house. It's nice to have characters, even Joseph, calling out how dumb Junior can be sometimes, and even agreeing with Cody. Joseph also did this somewhat in the apartment era, but not as much. But you might want to savor this because that part of his character will be sadly missed. But if it seems like I haven't said anything significant or going in details about Joseph yet, it's because his character wasn't really fully established or explored yet. And despite being Junior's best friend and having a cool kid personality, that was all Joseph was back then. But thankfully, this is where the apartment era comes in, and we got a character change that I can finally talk about, because it changed Joseph's character for either the better or the worse. It was around the apartment era that we got a rather dark twist on the character development of Joseph, and that being that his mom suddenly was killed off. This moment was even more sadder than Peter Parker losing Uncle Ben. Okay, so I'm exaggerating a little bit. And honestly, I did like this temporary change, not because I wanted to see Joseph miserable, but we'll talk about how this change made Joseph a character and purpose purgatory later. But it made Joseph a unique character who stood out. Compared to the other characters, Junior doesn't know his mom, but the show never even tried to make a video about it, outside of the one-time character as Sheila, but it was never mentioned again. Cody's parents are just plain weird and they're okay with the fact that they got a turtle as their son. And to be fair, we already know how weird the Nutkiss family is, so it's not that kind of surprising. But Joseph's situation is a lot more interesting, darker, and more tragic. It helps with the fact that we know absolutely nothing about his mom, so maybe Logan could have made Joseph's story sadder while expanding on what she was like before she died. And they attempted? We got videos that showed the happy-go-lucky character and how Joseph used to live a normal life, to being slowly insane and living in the projects with no lights. Audience, to let you know, no matter how poor you ever get in life, at least you'll never sink lower than having to drink sludge from the pipes, or stealing money from your dead relatives for your next meal. Although, to be fair, I don't think there's a beauty spot in hell, so honestly just take the money. But then we got follow-up videos that expanded on the backstory. We next have Joseph Moves In, which became even more horror-filled related with a twist revealing that she was murdered by Joseph. Maybe I'm a horrible person, but I did wish the show did stick with this plot twist, because it would have made it sadder and made Joseph a tragic character. Though realistically, I guess you can argue that if they stuck with this revelation, perhaps maybe people wouldn't like Joseph, or maybe Logan would be more stuck on how to make a character who killed their mom likable. I'm just theorizing, but who knows. But the move-in videos delve more into Joseph's insanity, so Junior basically gave him money to buy an apartment. This is one of those times where Logan basically made the events of the video pointless. After Junior spent an entire video getting Joseph money to buy an apartment for him, it's never mentioned again. Joseph never bought a new house, he never said what he did with the money. Like, what was the point of that if you're not gonna follow up on a video? It made me confused then, and it's more confusing now. But anyway, videos continued on with the jokes and mentioning that Joseph did in fact kill his mom, and from that point on, Joseph was a background character. Like, no joke. Despite being the main character, he had a giant backseat in terms of purpose, but we'll talk about that in the next section. But the final conclusion of the Joseph mom arc is when the video questions if Joseph even killed her to begin with, until it's revealed that the body was just a plastic skeleton for the last 2 years, and the mom was alive this whole time. This is where I'm mixed about this. As much as I did like the reveal that she was alive and that Joseph didn't kill his mom and she left Joseph willingly, at the same time, it's impossible to ignore just how much the show was kinda gaslighting us this whole time that she was point blank murdered, but at the last minute, Logan pulled the rug under us. I never understood why Logan backpedaled on this reveal. Sure, Joseph killing his mom was dark and disturbing and sad, but that's what made the arc so interesting, and it gave Joseph a bigger and unique character compared to the old house era. Also, spoilers, it's not the last time he backpedaled to a strange reveal, but this one really feels like Logan didn't want to keep the ending sad. But there's nothing wrong with taking risk, you know. On a similar note, Logan did the exact same thing with Browder Jr.'s mom. No, not that one. But with Junior's new mom showing up, Junior got along with her until Sheppy accidentally cooks her. The video drags on the sad ending until, well, it turns out she was alive this whole time. At least for me personally, it seems like these endings kind of diminish. It kind of lessens the impact of these sad endings that Logan wanted to tell, but at the last minute, he decides not to go through with it. It seems like Logan doesn't want to take risk, and if you don't plan on using a particular character anymore anyway, then why not just get rid of them? I'm not even gonna waste my breath with Nancy coming back. If I'm being too critical on Joseph's mom ending, I apologize, but when the writing has so many issues, that is where the immersion and logic is also hard to accept. With that being said though, the arc ended with Joseph's mom abandoning her son and Joseph's arc is completed. And while the arc was completed on a sad ending, I do think this is where the true first decline of Joseph's character began, and the lack of any purpose he had to the show. Ever since Logan completed the tragic mom arc, Joseph's character from this point on became a joke character. And this might be an unheard of take, but this is why I love to make these videos so much. But ever since Logan killed off Joseph's mom, and even after she was gone from the show, this is where the show had no idea what to do with his character. From this point on, no sentence ever came out of Joseph's mouth that isn't about him not having a mom, or the fact he's homeless, or the fact his life is depressing and no one likes him. All he ever did was talk about how sad his life is. In 2019 was where I was starting to get tired of this joke. I mean, if you even want to call it a joke. It felt like the character just stopped having a purpose from this point on, and the other characters even got tired of him bringing it up. They would even break the fourth wall too to acknowledge the fact that Joseph doesn't have any purpose. They would even get rid of him in the beginning or even middle of the episodes because they have nothing for him to do. And this brings us to the only other thing he does. When he was in episodes, he did nothing but agree with Junior on practically everything. And that became his new trait. Junior's yes man. Joseph is Junior's lapdog. He agrees with Junior on everything and he hates everything that Cody does. That is as far as his trait goes. And guess what? That was in 2017. Or debatably all the way back in 2015 when the two idiots did nothing but gang up on Cody. And we had episodes like Summer School Part 5 that truly began this cliche. Then other videos like Cody's birthday, which was the earliest and biggest example that got the ball rolling. Compared to now, Cody's birthday is a bit overhated, but it deserves the hate that it gets. There's nothing funny about an innocent character being treated like shit for no reason. Then we have Evil Chef Pee-Pee, where after they kill Chef Pee-Pee on purpose and by accident, it's complicated but watch the video, they proceeded to blame Cody while he was trying to warn them the whole time that their idea was bad. And 2017 is where this really became an issue. I still remember to this day the Bigfoot episode and the Loch Ness Monster episode, and both of them are the exact same video, where Junior and Joseph both think they caught a mythical creature. Cody says they are wrong, they argue while Joseph keeps backing Junior up, and ignoring the plethora of videos nowadays with the exact same concept of Junior and Joseph bullying Cody while Joseph is agreeing with Junior no matter how dumb or annoying these ideas are, and ridiculing Cody and torturing him. This started back in 2015. We're now in 2023. While it's not in every single video, it's both amazing and annoying just how many videos does this trope. And people got sick of it years ago due to how overused it was. But Logan still writes these episodes, as he says that every episode he releases are videos that he personally finds funny. But in that case, respectfully, I don't get how videos like an innocent person getting abused mentally and physically for the 100th time can be considered funny when Cody is a complete innocent victim. Remember back then when Joseph used to agree with Cody and even on rare occasions antagonize Junior alongside him? Like in Junior's Biggest Fear when they both were bullying Junior and his fear cotton balls. Or the episode where they prank Junior and thinking that he's from the future. Or the Pillow Fort video where they both ditched Junior's fort to go to Cody's fort. Now those moments are out the window nowadays and he became Junior's right hand man with no mind of his own. And that is his only sole purpose. And I think even Logan was aware of this, so he began to make some episodes tied to Joseph as the main character. Now there are some Joseph videos I like, and my favorite of all time is Junior's Dad Problem, which have Bowser spending time with Joseph because Joseph is all alone, and it is so wholesome and sweet. And some episodes that are kind of pointless, like Joseph's Family, which has him being attracted romantically to paper, and the other episode with him having a paper girlfriend, and the episode with having a dead fish. Did I mention that Joseph's character may or may not be insane? To bring up Joseph's grandparents nowadays, this is the most pointless episode. Ignoring the fact that Joseph have no relatives, Logan suddenly introduced family members, and this video has Joseph in complete denial that they exist, and they just leave. What was the point of this episode? It reminds me of Cody's real dad, where they also introduced a new character and then they did absolutely nothing with this idea. And now the most controversial change that ruined everything about Joseph, Red Shell Joseph. When Joseph got a new shell, that changed his personality, or should I say amplified his unlikable aspects to tenfold. Joseph turning into an irredeemable jerk. From treating Junior like trash for no reason, to abusing Richard because he felt like he deserved to be his slave, to abusing his own butler. And then Joseph the Millionaire was made. For people who've been paying attention to my channel, I was not a fan of this video when it came out, and I'm still not a fan of this video to this day. I'm sure Logan thought this video was clever or subverted expectations, but this was a video that, intentional or not, ruined a character to a severe degree. This is a video that was so bad that Logan never made a follow-up video because people hated this video. Whether it's from how unlikable Joseph was to the fact that it erased all of Joseph's character development, or how it killed the emotional impact of the lore, all of these things are valid reasons to hate the video. And after this video, Joseph returned again to a pointless addition to the show. Glad to see that not much has changed until the puppets were made. When I say that Joseph hadn't changed that much, I suppose that's a slight exaggeration. As a pointless addition, that hasn't changed. He was still more of a pointless main character and the show just stopped centering episodes around him, but his personality transformed into a generic black character. And this change started when the human puppets were introduced. As much as SML tried to convince us that these characters were still the same characters we loved, just in a different form, it was so obvious something felt incredibly odd about the cast. Junior was more evil and selfish and narcissistic. Cody was a bit more raunchier than usual, but that's about it. But Joseph went through the strangest change. He turned into a generic black stereotype and much more antagonistic. And this is where I am going to need to put a slight disclaimer because I'm going to talk about something serious for a moment. It's something I thought about for a while regarding the writing on the show and the quite worrisome nature of the show aimed at kids. The show is overwhelmingly aimed towards kids, and even Logan has been aware of this fact for years. Hell, he even sells school supplies on the website still. Last time I noticed, I haven't seen anyone in college with a Jeffy backpack. So now I'm going to talk about racism for a bit. So for all sensitive people, a small viewer discretion for racism, and I'm going to say it right now. I'm not accusing anyone of anything. I'm not accusing Logan, but it's more so of the writing of the show that really begins to worry me a lot. It's nothing too offensive, but it's a small pet peeve on the writing of the black characters on the show especially, and it does bring some unfortunate implications. So again, viewer discretion, kids, hide under your blankets, cover your ears, don't watch this. But back to what I'm saying. When I describe the characters and them being stereotypes, I mean every single black stereotype you probably heard. All the black characters in the show are just the most basic and debatably offensive types. And if you didn't know, audience, I am black myself. Surprise! Happy birthday! Merry Christmas! Wakanda forever! I know the stereotypes are some of the most basic, but it still rubs me the wrong way a bit with how non-stop these appear. Black Yoshi, Tyrone, Shepipi, and Joseph, all these characters are textbook of what someone thinks a black person is and should be, when everything about it is just so untrue and unrealistic. Oh, what's that? Every black character eats chicken and watermelon, they're certified cheaters and abusers on their significant other, they love to say the N-word every second, they hate white people and they hate every other race except their own? And Joseph is the most guilty party of this. Joseph is far from realistic or relatable because he brings up slavery all the time, he hates white people, he's offended for the mere mention someone says the word black with no racial implication, always talking about how much he hates the police. I'm sorry, but it's so annoying. I think Joseph and all the characters Lavelle played over the years just stopped being their own separate characters and it slowly became just Lavelle at this point. There's an actor playing a character and then there's the actor projecting themselves to said character. If Logan is gonna keep writing for these characters, at least focus on the writing and make the characters all differentiate from each other and try to keep stereotypes far from these characters It's harmful and kinda dangerous to think that all black people are like this and not their own individual selves. Even back then, the stereotyping and writing of the characters was not this bad or obvious or constant. Even when an edgy joke was made back then, at least it was rare. And before you assume about me, no, I don't have an issue with edgy humor. I understand SML is a comedy show, but when a comedian tells the same joke of, "Oh, get it, Black Yoshi is lazy, he doesn't have a job," for the 1,000th time, I'm not laughing, I'm not even mad, kinda, but I'm just tired of the same humor. And it does kinda get borderline offensive with how much the joke is being used. It would be a lot better if the characters were different from each other and aren't just strictly stereotypes. I'm sorry. It's been something I've been holding back to say for such a long time. Now, if that rant added anything of value to the video or not, you're welcome to tell me. But now we're back to talking about Joseph. Joseph became a pure-blooded black stereotype, and another unfortunate implication with Joseph now is regarding his hatred for Cody being gay. Back then, it was understandable. It came off as Joseph not liking Cody because he was weird. But as soon as Cody became gay, it did kinda come off as Joseph being a lot more homophobic. Heck, he would even use the hard F word that I'm not gonna say. Like, as soon as Cody even makes one small comment about his sexuality, Joseph and Junior too really announce how much they hate Cody. Both of them even think that being gay in general is just weird and frowned upon. Like, there's nothing wrong with being gay, or if you are gay, GG, enjoy your life, man. But I'm more bothered with the way that the show is written. People interpret Joseph and Junior as homophobic, and while I think it's not intentional, I can't also entirely deny that. I don't think it was intentional, and it's more so of Joseph being annoyed of Cody's weirdness, but they should really be careful with the writing of Joseph. Again, I'm not accusing anyone of anything because knowing the fandom, they will blow anything out of proportion, but I'm just giving Logan some serious writing advice for Joseph. Joseph has descended far past his former self, and there is no redeeming values, not much sympathy for someone who accuses the whole world of being racist. I just hate how derailed his character became. And it's now sad to think about that everything about his previous self doesn't even matter anymore. The tragic backstory of his mom, feeling sympathy for Joseph, it doesn't mean anything anymore. And the show doesn't even try to attempt anymore with making stories about him. Or when they did, they just kind of retcon things for the sake of randomness. What? Joseph had grandparents despite the fact they died? It just shows how much even the show doesn't even care that much about Joseph to write him in a more prominent light compared to the other characters. And Joseph is one of the main characters, and yet he's pretty much not that likable for his decline of one of the most normal characters to one of the most hated characters on the show. And it's not just by me. A lot of people do not like Joseph anymore.